Hello and welcome to Soul and Science Singing, and this episode is the foundations. So we're going to talk just an overview about some of the things that really do need to be in place before we can start thinking seriously about the sound we make. So let's talk first about the challenge with singing. There is a unique challenge. The tough thing is that you can't touch your instrument and you can't see your instrument because it is inside you. Furthermore, our whole body affects the sound that we make, for better or for worse. So tension in the shoulders or even in the knees can stop you from breathing properly and prevent your voice from being free and well produced. And the trouble is, the more we think about tension, the harder it is to relax. So don't overthink. Instead, focus your mind on what you are trying to achieve. When we ride a bike or swim or run, we're not micromanaging our muscles thinking, okay, right leg move now, left leg move now. It just happens because our bodies are in tune with our minds. It has to be the same when we sing. The analogy I always use is if you can imagine that you're running along a cliff like this and you're trying to make a leap to the other side, and there's maybe like a platform over here that you're trying to get to. You know that if you want to make that jump, you have to be thinking, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this, and jump. But if you're running along and you doubt yourself about here, and you think, oh, I don't know if I can do this, you're gone. So, training goal. This might seem like overkill, but it's absolutely essential. Before you sing anything, whether it's a quick practice or a professional concert, do it with all your heart and soul. Because if you hold anything back, you're almost certainly creating a whole lot of vocal problems for yourself. Just go for it. Tell yourself the facts. I can do this. I make an amazing sound. People love to hear me sing. If you honestly believe that those things are not true, well, that's what this course is about. So obviously the first thing we need to talk about is posture, because that affects everything else. Some people don't like the word posture, but for now, let's use it. So posture is how we sit or how we stand. And it's another one of those things that unfortunately becomes more difficult the more you think about it. So it's much better to think in positive terms rather than in negative. For example, if somebody shouts at you, don't slouch. You might sit bolt upright, but you will probably be causing yourself a lot of problems by creating tension. So instead, just remember, feet hip width apart, flat on the floor, shoulders back, and high sternum. The sternum is the bone in the middle of your chest, so you can feel it's kind of soft, 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 and then it goes hard. That's the sternum. You want this pointing towards the sky, so as if you're kind of going to launch a rocket from it, 45 degrees. Many people find this difficult to maintain because it feels strange and quite vulnerable. Our instinct is to close up and protect our vital organs when we're afraid or nervous. You really have to fight this temptation so that you can get used to that feeling of standing tall and proud like a noble knight, even though it might feel strange. If you can master that, not only your breathing, but your whole posture will dramatically improve, and you'll feel a lot more confident too. But a lot of this is in the muscle memory. So here is another training goal that we need to use just in order to get those muscles used to being in that more open position. So this is called the pectoral stretch. And what you need to do is stand with your arms straight out from the shoulders and your palms are facing up. And you breathe in. And as you breathe out, we're going to squeeze our shoulder blades together and hold it for 5 seconds. And then relax, shake everything out, and just repeat that process 5 times. Or as many times as you can, really. Just start even just once a day, but increase that frequency to 3 times a day if you can, or just whenever you remember. This is something that we are always going to be doing just because of the lifestyle that we live. Phones, reading, carrying heavy bags, over desks. We are all at risk of kyphosis, every single one of us. And so these muscles here are becoming shorter, and these muscles here are becoming longer. So what might feel normal A normal posture is not necessarily a natural posture. Very important to make the distinction between those two things. And we have to actually just retrain those muscles. We need to be stretching what's called the pectoralis minor, and we need to be contracting the scapula. Unless we can do that, then this is always going to just feel, a good posture is always just going to feel a little bit different. Perhaps the most important part about singing, breathing. If singing was driving a car, then your breath would be the fuel. You can't move without fuel. You can't sing without fuel. So to give your car the power, this doesn't work as much if you're driving an electric vehicle now, but to give your car the power, you have to feed the engine with gas by pressing the accelerator. And to give your voice power, you need to feed it with air by breathing well. If you don't feed enough fuel to the engine of a car, I'm sure some of us will have experienced this. Perhaps the next generation won't experience it, but we all know what it's like, perhaps, to stall the car. It's not got enough gas, the engine cuts out, and the car stalls. It will splutter and stall, and it is the same with our voices. Perhaps we recognize what that feels like as well, or what that sounds like if you're trying to sing a high note, and you haven't fed it with enough air, you get what's called a vocal crack, and the voice is effectively stalled because there is no air in the system. The muscle we use to inhale and exhale, to breathe in and out, is called the diaphragm. And you can see it below in the picture. The heart and the diaphragm are the only reactive muscles in the body. So that means that they start working when we're born and they never stop for your entire life. Because of that, though, that means that we cannot directly control them. Because if we could stop our heart from working, or if we could stop our diaphragm from working, we would stop breathing and our heart would stop pumping oxygen around our body and we would die, frankly. So that is why it's very important that we can't control that. It's a reactive muscle. It happens and we do not control it. But we can make changes using our minds to the way that they behave. So as your diaphragm descends, it creates a vacuum in the lungs, which causes air to rush in like a vacuum cleaner. So it's good to know that the act of breathing is not sucking air into the lungs, but rather that by expanding the space in the lungs, the air is automatically drawn in. So if you can get your breathing technique sorted, the whole process should be effortless. The rib cage, of course, defends your lungs like a suit of armor. If your chest is collapsed, as we talked about before, the rib cage closes inward and the capacity of your lungs is greatly reduced. So good posture is the first step to good breathing. And when you take a good breath, you should feel your rib cage expanding and you probably feel your stomach moving out. And if you feel this and you're not making it happen by pushing artificially, then you know that you are breathing from the diaphragm. The stomach moves out not because there's any air going into the stomach, but because as that diaphragm descends, it can descend all the way to the navel. Then these guts and intestines and stuff inside your stomach have got nowhere to go. So that's what you're feeling is kind of being pushed out there. So there's a huge amount of lung capacity that we don't normally use because we're not using the full power of the diaphragm. And when we're nervous, we're much more likely to take high breaths in the chest and sometimes even moving the shoulders up and down. And this is because our body thinks that we need oxygen fast, so it makes us breathe quickly, fight or flight. To calm yourself, you need to consciously breathe deep and low, feeling that wide expansion as you inhale. So finally, here is a training goal for breathing. And this one, there is no shortcuts. You're training a muscle. You can't expect to just run a marathon if you've never done any training. It's going to take time. But the more you get those correct breathing muscles trained, the more they will automatically take over from these weaker and less useful muscles in the throat, and the more your singing will become more powerful and more enjoyable. So, stand with good posture. You may prefer to sit if this exercise makes you feel lightheaded. That's what I'm going to do. Take a good low breath. Hold your finger in front of your lips as if there's a little candle on it. And with a quick, sharp breath, we're just going to blow out the candle. You should feel your stomach pull inwards as you blow if you are doing that from the diaphragm. If it helps, really use your imagination to engage the correct muscles. If you imagine that when you were a kid at a birthday party and there was somebody's candle on the cake, but it wasn't yours and you're not allowed to blow it out, but you want to be able to do that without anybody noticing. So you're just waiting for your moment and then you go very quickly, because only the diaphragm can have that, cause that spasm, which creates that very quick breath. And so when you're comfortable with 1, expand it to 2. And when you are comfortable with 2, expand it to 3. And so on. And eventually you should be able to get that muscle trained to the extent that it becomes reactive, and you can keep going for as long as necessary. Etc. So those are the foundations. Take as long as you need to go over those and really, really get them into your heart and into your soul. All that stuff at the beginning about believing about what you're doing, I'm afraid that is not a step that you can skip. Otherwise, everything technical that you add onto that is just not going to be as effective. Thank you so much, and keep singing.